Barry Astrovik, the Elsa Street by C.J. Fair. It was the night before Christmas, and Esquire Bay was blanketed in snow like a person who was also under a blanket, and everyone in the city, and in McCoy's bar, were feeling the holiday spirit. "Bah, humbug," said the one exception, and Professor Horace Adoy. The bartender Hank turned to him and asked, "What's wrong with you tonight, Horace?" "What is wrong that even though the schools are out, I can't escape my absurd students," complained Adoy, indicating a small group of teenagers sitting in a booth in the corner of the bar. "Why do you even let them in here, Hank? They're nowhere near 21. "If I were the kind of guy who always did things by the book," said Hank, "I wouldn't have got my liquor license. Now, if you'll excuse me for a second." Hank picked up a tray of strictly non-alcoholic drinks and carried it over to the booth, where Barry Astrovik and his two best friends, Drew Kingsley and Vanessa Frost, sat contentedly, talking and laughing about one of their previous crazy adventures. Tonight, they were retelling the story of the Promethean Ghoul. "God, did you see the look on Redset's face when he caught us all in his office?" said Drew, half laughing at the memory. Vanessa, who was not nearly as casual about getting into trouble, continued this train of thought. "I seriously thought he'd kill us right there and then." "I wouldn't put it past him," said Drew. "Remember that time he wanted to replace detention with Catholic ordeals?" Barry winced, rubbing his arms and saying, "My arms are still sore from holding all those complete encyclopedias." "Hey kids, here are your drinks," Hank said, setting the drinks down on the table. "Thanks, Hank," said Barry. Then, realizing what he just said, rhyme. "So where are the others then?" asked Hank. "Susan's off with her family in Nebraska," explained Vanessa. "Ludwig's back in Bavaria, and Clyde, what's he doing again?" "I'm not sure," said Drew, "but I highly doubt he's spending Christmas with Weird Al Yankovic like he said he was." "And what about Jason?" asked Hank. "With Mom and Dad," said Barry. They've gone to collect our aunt, uncle, and cousin from the ferry. They'll be spending Christmas with us this year." "Wow, that's great," said Vanessa. "I know, right? It's been years since we've seen Aunt Marie and Uncle Pete," said Barry. "And Clara as well." "Oh, what age will she be now? 3? asked Drew. 4. "Kids grow up so fast, at least to my knowledge," said Hank, half smiling to himself. "Yeah, Christmas is going to be great," said Barry. "Much better than last year when Vanessa's mom said that Christmas was cancelled." "It was just a joke," said Vanessa, shrugging her shoulders. "Isn't the mayor allowed to make jokes?" "Not if it means taking Christmas away," said Drew seriously. "What would be the point of December if there was no Christmas?" Barry returned home later to find a small girl running through the hall, wearing a glittery blue play dress and singing to herself. This was Barry's cousin, Clara Hoffman, dressed as Elsa from Frozen. "Hi, kiddo," said Barry. "Hey, do you remember me?" "Are you the guy from Greece?" asked Clara. "What?" Barry suddenly became very conscious of his quiffed hair and leather jacket, and how it did make him look like John Travolta as a T-Bird. "No, I'm your cousin, Barry." "Oh. Do you want to be Olaf? The snowman?" "Yeah, sure, just give me a second, okay?" "Okay," said Clara, and she proceeded to run off again, singing Let It Go as best as she could. As much as Barry was slightly sick of the amount of Frozen there had been in the last few years, he couldn't help but think just how adorable his cousin was at this moment. He walked through the living room and found his father's sister Marie and her husband Pete sitting on the couch with Jason, Barry's younger brother. "Barry!" Aunt Marie exclaimed. "Oh my God, you've got so big. You're way taller than me now. It's crazy." It wasn't exactly hard to be taller than Aunt Marie, since she only stood at 5'3", but Barry took it as a compliment. Uncle Pete reached out and shook Barry's hand. "Hey, Barry, we were just asking Jason here. Who do you like for the NHL? Hockey?" Oh, come on," said Uncle Pete, he's slightly bewildered. "Surely you boys have a team. Mine is the Devils." Seeing an opportunity, Barry then replied, "Oh, no kidding. That's ours too." "Excellent," said Uncle Pete. "You boys have good taste. Marie, I'll just go sort out the luggage." As Uncle Pete left the room, Jason whispered to his brother, "Think he bought it?" "I'd hope so," said Barry. "I don't know much more about hockey, so if he asks, we're screwed." He turned to Aunt Marie, with whom he is more likely to have a hockey-free conversation. "So, Aunt Marie, how was your trip?" "That's fine, except for that ferry. God, those waves were throwing us all over the place. I just hope the presents we brought weren't damaged." "What about you two, then? What have you boys been up to since I last saw you?" "Oh, all kind of things," said Barry, wondering where to start. Time travel, monster hunting. I was briefly mayor last month. Ah, said Aunt Marie, wondering where to go from here. What an imagination you have, Barry. Clearly she didn't believe Barry, and to be fair, who would? But all these things had happened to Barry, all within the last 9 months. But those are stories for another time. Clara came running back into the living room, clutching a cuddly toy snowman, an expectant look on her face. Are you coming to play now, Olaf? Asked Clara. Yeah, Elsa. I'm not playing Elsa, said Clara. I'm Anna today. But you're dressed as Elsa, said Barry, confused. Yeah, she has quite the imagination too, said Aunt Marie. So, are you looking forward to Santa coming tomorrow? Asked Barry. Yep, said Clara, standing up on her tippy toes in excitement. Because he's got me at talking Elsa. Bye! And suddenly Clara ran off again, singing at the top of her voice. She was certainly excited for Christmas. But Uncle Pete didn't seem to be, and he walked back into the living room with a grim look on his face. Pete, what's wrong? Clara's present, and Uncle Pete said quietly, so Clara couldn't hear. The Elsa doll? It broke in the storm. Can't you fix it? Marie, when I say it's broke, I mean it's broke. Like, a lot. There's no fixing it. Well, that's okay, Jason said. There's a good toy shop in the city centre. You should be able to get another one. I don't think so, Jason, Uncle Pete said. It's sold out everywhere else. It's bound to be sold out here. Oh, man, this is awful, said Anne Marie, crestfallen. She was so upset. And that was something Barry could not bear to see. The sweet little girl having her heart broken at Christmas. He got to his feet and headed to the door. Barry, where are you going? I'm going to find that doll, no matter what it takes. Barry, that's sweet of you, said Aunt Marie, but I don't see how you'll be able to find one. Well, I've got to try, Barry said, and he left the house in pursuit of something that may prove to be unobtainable. Barry had come to the place where he had the best chance of finding the Elsa doll, Pandora's Toy Box, owned by veteran toy maker Basil Moskowitz, who could provide you with any toy you desired. Sorry kid, I'm all out of those. Unless it was frozen merchandise, then it'd be sold out. Come on, Mr. Moskowitz, said Barry. You've got to help me out. Are you sure you haven't got one hidden somewhere in the back? I'm quite sure, boy, Mr. Moskowitz said. I've checked and rechecked, they're all gone. And I'm not surprised. I haven't seen toys sell this well since they stopped making them from lead. Mr. Moskowitz, please. Barry was starting to get desperate. You have to help me. If I don't find a talking Elsa doll, then my cousin's Christmas will be ruined. Mr. Moskowitz waved this aside, saying, Christmas is too easy to ruin these days. Now Hanukkah, there's a holiday that doesn't disappoint. He waited for a few seconds, as though he was waiting for Barry to enthusiastically agree. But Barry was left to stand there in awkward silence, unsure how to answer. Okay, fine, you don't want Hanukkah, as you want the doll. Tell you what, I'll give you the address of someone who has been buying up all this frozen stuff like it's going out of fashion. Maybe they'll have a spare that they could give you. Mr. Moskowitz scribbled the address on a small piece of paper and handed it over to Barry, who looked at it in disbelief. Wait a minute. I know who lives in this place. Barry nervously rang the doorbell and was greeted by the leering face of his least favourite teacher, Professor Adoy. Astrovik, what the devil are you doing here? Adoy was naturally displeased to see Barry, as their hatred for each other was quite mutual. But Barry didn't have time to dwell on this fact, and said awkwardly, Hi, Professor Adoy. I need your help with something. Whatever it is, no. Just hear me out. Look, I really need an Elsa doll for my cousin, or her Christmas will be ruined. And why the devil would I have one of those? Said Adoy indignantly. Mr. Moskowitz gave you up. Professor Adoy's eyes darted from side to side before he opened the door wider to allow entry. Fine, just get in. He led Barry down the hall to a room in the back of the small house. He got out a key and carefully opened the door. The room was filled wall to wall with all things frozen, from posters to toys to colouring books. A boombox sat in the corner continually playing the movie soundtrack. Barry was taken aback by all this. Okay, this is getting weird. Why would you, of all people, be into Frozen this much? Hey, it's a very poignant story of an outsider who is able to find love despite their unique absurdity, he said Adoy in a sudden outburst. He then gathered himself and attempted to cover it up. Not that I'm like that at all. Barry wasn't offended, but that didn't matter, because he had found the doll he was looking for. That's it! That's all I'm needing. The new limited edition deluxe talking posable Elsa with exclusive certificate from the manufacturers. No way. Oh, come on, Barry said, getting sick of the lack of cooperation from adults. What can you possibly do with all this? How old are you? That is not polite. Look, can't I just, I don't know, buy it from you, or get you something in exchange? Although I then suddenly went into deep thought. Actually, what is it? Barry was trying to get hopeful. At the art gallery, there's an exhibit of rock candy statues, one molded into the shape of Elsa. If you can get that for me, I'll give you the doll. Barry couldn't believe what he was hearing. Are you serious? You want me to rob an art gallery? You want the doll or not? Barry put his face in his hands and screamed. Fine, I'll get it. And remember, if you fail, said Adoy, I'll give you double detention in the new year. If I fail, I'll get arrested. Ooh, even better. At nightfall, the art gallery was empty except for the lone night watchmen patrolling the halls, casually singing to themselves, and rather badly at that. And Barry, hiding in the shadows, was wishing that his ears would fall off like a Van Gogh. The watchman walked to another wing of the museum, leaving the statue wing completely unguarded. This was when Barry decided to make his move. Pulling a ski mask over his face, Barry sneaked out of the shadows and cautiously approached the blue candy statue of the Disney Snow Queen. He stretched out slowly and lifted it from its stand. Silently congratulating himself on a successful robbery, Barry began to make his way out, until suddenly, "Hey! What are you doing?" The watchmen had returned, pointing their flashlight at Barry and the statue in his arms. Uh-oh. Running as fast as he could with a big candy statue under his arms, Barry went speeding out of the gallery and down the street as the watchman gave chase. Heads turned as this spectacle raced past them. Oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God! Coming down Macon Street, Barry knocked down Santa Claus collecting donations, who fell into some overflowing garbage. Sorry, my bad, Barry shouted over his shoulder. Whatever happened to goodwill to all men? Barry then took a quick turn down an alleyway and ran into Hank! Oh, thank God you're here. Hank was startled by Barry's sudden appearance. Hey, what's going on? What's with the statue? Oh, sorry, but I've got to hide. Quick, in here, Hank said, opening the door and pushing Barry into the stockroom of McCoy's. He looked through the door and saw the watchman approach Hank. Have you seen a guy in a mask with a candy statue? Asked the watchman, panting heavily. No, Hank said, doing a very good job at acting casual. What are you talking about? That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. I work in a bar. Okay, just keep an eye out, said the watchman, walking away. Hank walked into the stockroom, a quizzical look on his face. Okay, he's gone. So are you going to explain this? Well, it's important to save someone's Christmas. Hank shrugged. Fair enough. I've had worse people hide in here. I'll give you a ride home. Thanks, Hank. Yeah, rhyme again. Doesn't count. It was the same rhyme. But I'll have to make one stop first. 15 minutes later, Hank pulled up outside of Adoy's house, and Barry brought the candy statue to the door. Professor Adoy marveled at the sight of the statue, surprised by Barry's success. You managed to get it! Wow, you actually did something right, Astrovik, apart from the whole stealing thing. Okay, a deal's a deal, Adoy said, and handed over the Elsa doll. Thanks, Professor Adoy. I guess I owe you one. Next time I give you a detention, it will only be a half detention. Seems fair, Barry said, beginning to walk down the pathway. Merry Christmas, Prof. Barry was halfway back to the car when Adoy stopped him. Astrovik! Merry Christmas. Barry smiled and continued on his way. Adoy admired his new prize. We noticed something was wrong. Hey, what happened to the fingers? Barry paused. He looked back with a guilty expression on his face, and he said, through the pieces of rock candy fingers, It was like that when I found it. Adoy went red with fury. Barry ran into Hank's car and told him to step on it as the boy screamed in anger after them. The status quo of their mutual hatred had been restored. So Christmas morning had arrived, and the Astroviks were all exchanging presents under the Christmas tree. The time had come for Clara to open her presents. Barry handed over a light blue present to her. Here you go. Hope you like it. Clara ripped off the wrapping paper and examined what was underneath. Barry smiled with satisfaction. Until... I have this one already, Clara said simply. What? Anne-Marie leaned over and looked at the doll as well. Oh yeah, we did get her that. Man, what a silly mistake. Sorry, Barry. But... Oh, fuck! Barry Astrovik in the Elsa doll suite was inspired by The Nutcracker and the Mouse King ballet by Peter Ilyich Tchaikovsky. Also featuring music by Christoph Beck, Kristen Anderson-Lopez and Robert Lopez. Barry Astrovik in the Elsa doll suite was written and read by CJ Fairley. Happy holidays!